Moving on to politics. Since party primaries began in Nigeria a few weeks ago, there have been conversations on social media about allegations that delegates bribe aspirants to gain their votes. Reactions have been a mix of anger and disappointment, and some say the political process is flawed. But will online criticism make any difference? In this explainer, I'll tell you why political participation by all Nigerians might be a first step towards strengthening our democracy. Scenes that look like the proverbial giveaway on social media, but technically they are not. What you've just seen is a political party delegate giving back to his community, so to speak. He was a national delegate at one of the recently held presidential primaries. He returned to his constituency to dole out over 7 million naira made from the assignment. So, why is his generosity getting so much attention, and who exactly is a delegate? The answer circles back to the Electoral Act 2022. The Electoral Act is the legal instrument that backs the conduct and execution of an election. In Nigeria, it's usually amended at the cusp of the general election to reflect the current polity. Under past electoral acts, political parties decided how to conduct primaries for elective positions. The Electoral Act 2022 was no different, except it came with a twist. The Act says political parties must ensure flag bearers are democratically elected regardless of the mode of primaries. Section 84, subsection 4 provides that when the party chooses direct primary to elect its candidates for elective offices, it must ensure all registered party members vote for the candidates at the wards. While for indirect primaries, Section 84, subsection 5 requires the party to choose as its presidential candidate the aspirant who receives the highest number of votes of delegates at a national convention of the party.
Conducting primary on a nationwide scale to elect, party delegates can be logistically cumbersome. That is a point that can be made, but there's no shortcut to democracy.
Now, this potential logistical nightmare of direct primaries meant that big political parties settled for indirect primaries. This is where the delegates come in. There are two classes of delegates. Firstly, there are ad hoc delegates who are elected by political party members. These delegates then in turn elect their party's flag bearers for the different elective posts in an election. On the other hand, there are statutory or automatic delegates who are officials and former political leaders of a party. Although not elected, this class of delegates perform the same function as ad hoc delegates during elective primaries. In the past, political parties settled for only statutory delegates or a mixture of both classes for their indirect primaries, a practice Electoral Act 2022 has now nullified. Section 84, subsection 8 of the Act says, a party that adopts the system of indirect primary for the choice of its candidates shall clearly outline in its constitution and rule the procedure for the democratic election of delegates to vote at the convention, congress, or meeting. This means only elected delegates, that is, ad hoc delegates, can participate in indirect party primaries.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Although the National Assembly has amended the Electoral Act to allow statutory delegates vote, President Muhammadu Buhari has not assented it. This explains why delegates are kings in this election cycle.
The delegate system has actually complicated an already complicated situation, and everybody in the process now thinks that, once we get into the election process, it's an opportunity for them to take their own portion of the national cake.
The process is not the problem, but I just feel that the people involved, those who engineers it, those who put together the structure, the human beings actually propelling this are the ones who make things difficult for others.
And now only what they call elected delegates are to elect people that will vote. One day, the whole Nigerians will wake up and say they are voting for a president who presented specific candidates for you. Very few people.
One of the questions buzzing across social media and even on Google in the past few weeks has been how to become a delegate. Well, the first step to becoming either a statutory or ad hoc delegate is by joining a political party. And since the Electoral Act 2022 favors ad hoc delegates, let's break down how they are elected. According to the Act, these delegates emerge from internal elections of political parties conducted in each of the wards and local government areas of Nigeria. Now, let's break it down further using the ruling APC and opposition PDP as case studies. The presidential primary of either of these parties is prosecuted by delegates elected by party members across the 774 local government areas of Nigeria. These delegates are known as national delegates, just like the party official at the beginning of the story. Remember him? For governorship, State House of Assembly, House of Representatives, and Senate, the primaries are done by ad hoc delegates elected across the wards in each state.
Go to ward meetings at the ward level. You meet Okada riders, you meet market women, and you meet people you ordinarily would call the uneducated. So what that means, and then when politicians said we need to compensate our members, it is these persons that are members of the political parties that will be compensated.
Until we get credible people, men and women, young men and women, until we get them to be committed to the process by showing interest, not necessarily by running for office, but by being part of the party structure and system. Then from then we can begin to think that, okay, if we elect delegates from within these credible people, we are not going to have an issue.
But are Nigerians aware of this enormous power that they have and that political participation goes beyond voting during general elections?
I don't belong to any political party because the game is very dirty.
I belong to a political party because I have to participate in the politics of my country.
If you belong to one party, then your neighbor belongs to the other party, it might cause a conflict.
If the election itself is transparent and you have more participation, is it material the process that the people, the political parties, what do you call it? It's immaterial the process that the political party introduce to produce their candidate. Once that candidate is rejected at the poll, they are going to find a better way of nominating their candidate.
Nigeria runs a party democracy, and the only pathway to holding elective positions are through political parties. Section 221 of the 1999 Constitution says only political parties can campaign for votes for any candidate in an election. This means that for our democracy to be truly democratic, all hands must be on deck right from the process that throws up candidates to the point of electing them as political office holders. Well, this interesting conversation continues on our Twitter handle at GistNigeria TV. We would love to hear your thoughts. There's more to come here on Gist Nigeria from the BBC and Channels Television. Unscrupulous Ugandans vandalize public infrastructure to boost illegal scrap business. We bring you this interesting story after the break. Stay with us.